today we're using Geomagic Design X 2025, and I'm really excited to show some of the new features within 2025 that came, and I tend to get a little bit long-winded, a little bit excited when we get new fresh software. So we'll go ahead and load up some different models so I can demonstrate some of the functionality that's new to this release. So let me just jump over to my next model here. All right, so if I load up this model, you see this is an extracted model from CT data. And if you are ever given some data from a CT person, you'll see it's very low res because it's human anatomy. They can't use tons of radiation to extract the shape. So it's a low resolution mesh here. And what you'll notice is I'll go ahead and spoil this for you. You're looking at it thinking, oh, this is so cool. If I just come over to view clip real quick, it's like, yeah, it's really cool. It has all this internal geometry here because you have all this internal bone that was part of that density. And this can be a pain to clean up because it's connected the inside and the outside. There's all these little bits and pieces and stuff. So one way of accounting for this, there's a bunch of different types of data that ends up this way, right? And you can use what we call shrink wrap in order to account for it, to fix it. So if you come over here to the polygons, you see shrink wrap over here. I can select the outside, the shape, and basically I can say keep the original data, allow for tunnels, allow a tight fit. Interesting. You can now dictate a deviation or a triangle count of how much data you're looking at. So if I say, hey, I want this to be 500 or 5 million there. Whew. I want a 5 million. That's 500,000, maximum triangle count. Actually, let me just put 5 million. That's my maximum, and then I could lower this. I'm just going to figure out where we go here, like 05 or whatever. So what it's going to do is just going to wrap triangles around the outside of it and just get rid of everything on the inside. So just to jump forward here, now I'm going to say keep original data and then hit OK and let it chunk away. It shouldn't take that long. I mean, I'm cranking it to 11 here just to see what happens. So you see here now I have the other one I'm going to turn off. We'll just come in here, turn on the view clip again. There's another way to do the view clip. I'll talk about it here in a second. There we go. So there's the new one, there's the old, and the new and the old of cranking it. Now this is a low res piece, right? That's really cool. So that's one method, is using it for that sort of thing. If you just have a bunch of scans and there's all kinds of internal geometry causing problems, just shrink wrap that thing, and just wrap triangles around the outside of it and get rid of everything on the inside and take it from there. Now there's another example. Sometimes it's assemblies. So sometimes it's like a converted assembly. Here, I'll just drag in these files here, you'll see in a second. So look at this. I have this game controller, a ton of different pieces. And you could just say, I want to shrink wrap it together here. I'm just going to say shrink wrap all this. Wrap it around. Then hit OK, let it chug away, and calculate for me. And I'm still using and getting used to some of the settings of these tools, so some of my settings may not be 100% the best ever at the moment, but just giving you an idea of some of these really neat tools that we have available in the latest version. All right, so I purposely set this to a lower setting just so it wouldn't take a little too long for this webinar. But let's see here. If I just roll down, let's just group all of this. New group. Guys, we have groups, just so you know. And so now it's one piece. Again, this isn't perfect. I would crank it to 11 and let it calculate longer, just so you would have the ability to have a higher resolution. But this is the new shrink wrap functionality. So let's move right along to the next piece of functionality. Some of the scan data processing tools. So we'll just go ahead and hit new there, and I'll just load up another piece here. So here is a piece that I have. We'll just come down. It is 27 million triangles. So it's got some good resolution to it. Not really repaired or fixed or anything. It's just went ahead and merged it. So 27 million. What I want to highlight is we actually retooled the Decimate tool. So we created some clarifying language here, remaining percentage. So basically I'm saying I want it to be 5% of the size it was before right now, which again, 27 million, 5%. There we go. And then we really did, visually it you don't see much here, but we really did a lot of retooling to this algorithm. So it's not just faster, although it's very fast. It's more intelligent. So we provided clear control, higher quality results, faster performance, all that fancy way of saying more better. It also is a little more intelligent about the design intent, so it's going to be more aware of the what I'll pull up another example here in a second. Let me just go ahead and run this. So 27 million, I hit OK and run this. Look at how fast it's going down here at the bottom. So it's calculating away. So boom, there we are now down to 1.3 million triangles. Yes. And also, by the way, another feature here is we updated the 3D mouse. You know, one of my favorite topics on this webinar is the 3D mouse stuff. We updated it. I've brought it up many times here, but we've updated and created better performance of that. Now, sometimes on these webinars, it is a little bit, when you're going through so many 3D technologies and graphics technologies that things get weird on meetings, but it works great when I'm using it on a day-to-day basis. So that is another example there. So another one I wanted to talk about is, but real quick before I talk about the functionality, if you need to convert a CAD object back to convert it to a polygon, you want to take this and make it a polygon for printing purposes or something, you can come over to the polygon tools here and you come up to convert to mesh, and I always crank it to 11. You can also go to the advanced tools and type in the chord length and stuff like that and hit OK. And there you go. I'll just turn off the solid, turn the meshes back on, and show just this one. And just again, I know I talked about this, but if you want to change the color of a mesh, come over to the properties there, boom, there you go. Now, what I want to show here is the fact that Decimate is more intelligent on this type of geometry. CAD converted meshes. So if we just turn on the triangle edges, you can see here, did a great job converting it. But if I come over to, again, polygons, Decimate, we're just going to say 5% on purpose here, really crank it down. Look at how good of a job it does, still preserving the mesh and sharp edges and stuff. So I just wanted to highlight that one of the things that besides just performance, it's just better results out of the Decimate that are more accurate to what you would want them to be. Is not just performance, but just they're more robust, and it works better on CAD geometry, converted CAD geometry too. So another thing that we added, we improved the mesh processing of the averaging meshes together. I'm going to highlight that more in a future webinar. So today I'm not going to really discuss that, but where we can average meshes together, that's a very popular feature that we have worked with many times. Another one is in the feature modeling, patterning faces. So people have known that we have the ability to pattern bodies for a while. So if I come over to model and I come over to pattern, I'm just going to use pattern along curve for now because I want to get all fancy here. Pattern bodies has existed for a while. We added now pattern faces. So in this instance here with pattern faces, I can select the right faces, hopefully. There we go. And if I want to pick a direction, this direction here, and there we go. Oh, you don't want that. There we go. So now you see here that I'm using pattern faces. Extend that out. I could say equal spacing, which will cause crazy, because I use that edge, so it's going to use that, so we don't want to do that. And then hit OK. There we go. So pattern faces, so it's going to take those faces of this object and pattern those along. And that works in linear, circular, curve like I just did, and mirror. So we can mirror faces as well. So it'll work within inside of that paradigm too. So that is really helpful. Now, loaded up another one here. If I Boolean objects together, if I come over here and say we want to go ahead and cut these guys from this tool, we have keep tool bodies, keep target bodies, or what you used to have, which you don't. So with this instance, we say next. You get the preview there. Here's the remaining. Boom. So we got the final result, but we also kept the original tool bodies, which is huge. That's really neat. The other one is one that had bothered me for a little bit because it just made so we had extra steps to model something equivalent. So if I have these parts, these are all individual pieces right now. So I have these solid pieces, and then I have this sketch here. Let's say I want to extrude this sketch, but I only want to cut the main block here. So I say I want to extrude this, and I want to cut it. So this is new. Down here, you got merge, cut, all bodies are selected bodies, and I say only this body is what I want to cut, right? So that's the new feature. So now it was able to cut that solid, but like preserve the others. So this works not just in the Boolean, but in the solid tools. So in extrude, revolve, loft, sweep, the surface tools as well. Um, it will allow you in there modeling wizards. So in the extrude, solid, primitive, extrusion wizard, revolve wizard, and then modeling features like linear patterns and stuff like that. All of this will affect all those. Having the target body section is really handy to be able to only cut the things that you want to, rather than the old way would be extruding that as a separate piece and then Boolean it away from just the piece that you wanted to Boolean it away from, which would be extra steps. And this just makes it so much easier to work with. The next one is a Polyline enhancements. So with this, the Polyline tool is just a very interesting tool here. We can come in and take a look at how it works. So under the Polyline, there's the 3D Polyline tool. You have the ability, and you see here that I have a sample file where I've just created some geometry, but I can click locations here, and I could say, hey, that actually point number 2, and let's see here, out here. So point number 2, I only wanted it to go in the Y direction. Point number 3, and you see here that I'm just showing this right now. You'll see what I'm going to do here in a second. So now I have the list. I can come through and key in and move the points around manually, right? And then I do have the constrained direction thing here. So I can go back to the first point and say I only want it to go up in the Y direction. And then point 3, I can click on it and I can move it here. Let's move it. And I could say, hey, that only in the Z direction. And you can key in and move around the locations if you want. Now, you also have the ability to click on other. You see that where I was able to click on that corner and move the point around and snap to geometry that's there. Or I can click on this point number 4, and let's just say I want to move it around to 20, move it up to 20 or 80. And you can actually just key in the locations and moving them around. And then once you do that, you can also apply radii to these. So for 4, I'm just going to type in a 5mm radii. And then now this is also new. I can click on the point itself in the 3D workspace. Oh, we don't want to do 50. We're going to do 5. So you see here that we can create these. Now, the reason why the editing, you're looking at this going like, why would you use this? The editing of the 3D polyline is really useful when it comes to other things. Because the 3D polyline is what the wizards use with the pipe tools. So that's kind of where I want to go next, is to show that if I go ahead and get out of that and just load up one of my pipe models, I'll just go ahead and turn off the old geometry there. Just get rid of that. So I'm going to take this region And we redid the pipe wizard and made it more robust as well. So you go through the pipe wizard, you have the ability to just have better results, and then they're more editable results as well. So if I come over to pipe wizard, and I'm just going to say select that geometry, make a single pipe, solid insert, hit next. As usual, it does a pretty good job with this clean data right here. And then I can say use lines and arcs. This is where the that comes in handy with the curve, and then hit OK. So now you'll notice over here that it created my profile sketch, and then it created my sweep, and you see it used the 3D polyline, and then you can edit that 3D polyline. There we go. So if I come over here to point number 6 and I click on it, and then I come over and say, let's do 0.7, make it big. Okay. So I was able to come into that 3D polyline and change that edge there. So that is the results of the pipe wizard have gotten better, and then the 3D polyline tool has gotten a little better. And then here's another one that I wanted to kind of show. You can come in and you can say, here's a more difficult example. Pipe wizard, select this, hit next. It fits. I say I want to use lines and arcs. Hit OK. And then you see down here at the end, it failed. So one thing that you can do is I can just roll back here, and I can say I want to create a point. I'm going to select the edge points there, and I'm just going to extract the center point, and then I'm going to roll forward, roll to the end. And then I could come in and go to that 3D polyline, and point number 11, I could just get rid of, and then add a point, insert last, undo, click on that last point, hit OK. And now it's using that as the profile, so that's why it's doing that. And then look, it rebuilt it. I didn't add a radius number, so I can come in and click on point number 10 and type in a radius 5 or something, just guessing. And you see that I was able to edit that pretty simply and make a change to it. So that is just really helpful with the 3D polylines. 3D polylines, I'm just going to be honest, are not my favorite tool in here, but they still do have some uses that I can get to where I want to go with them. So that is that tool. Actually, there is one more thing with 3D polyline that I think is a good point to make. In the older versions, the 3D polyline, if it was a line arc polyline like that, would not live transfer over to SolidWorks. So if I say I want to live transfer to SolidWorks, start from first feature, I will just load up SolidWorks here. So there is SolidWorks. And I will go ahead and just hit send on my DesignX side of things. So this is actually a big deal, is being able to get this across. So now you see that the 3D polyline comes across as native geometry. So that is huge. Another one is fit surface patches is a great new enhancement. So the fitting of the surface patches has gotten exponentially faster here. So if I actually just turn off that surface, turn on the curve network. If I come over here and I just use that same curve network and I say go ahead and apply, the fitting has gotten significantly faster here, where it's gonna, I just basically used kind of a template. That's the same, I basically created a new auto surface by taking that same curve template and fitting it again as a new auto surface. So like there's the old one, there's the new one. So that has gotten significantly faster. The other thing that's gotten faster and better, I do think, is just creating a patch network. I can create the patch network by drawing splines right on the surface here. Eventually, there we go. So I'm just going to draw real quick. In the past, you'll notice that I love using boundary fit surfacing a lot. And boundary fit surfacing is, I've gotten this question from people many times. Isn't that like redundant with the exact surfacing in here? And in the past, if I drew out curves that didn't envelop the whole shape, and then I came over to fit surface patches, this surface patches would not fit very well. So I would use boundary fit surfacing because that's a better way to go about it. But look now, so now I have the ability to come in and draw out my surface patches, and I don't have to use the create patch network. I can come over and I can use this as well. I can just come right over to bound and draw my boundaries like I did before. And I can draw the curves on the shape of the part here. And then we'll come in here. Oops. We'll just add some ribs there. This direction and that direction. So in the past, I would have to use boundary fit for something like this. And then I actually tend to come into split, select all, and split all of the curves at all the joints. So there, I just drew that. Now, in the past, I would actually only do a boundary fit with this. But now the fit surfaces tool, I can use it, and it will fit surfaces to that as well. And the algorithm's different. Like sometimes it does a better job than the other one. So now you have more options to fit stuff, either fitting it as a fit surface patches from the exact surfacing tool, or coming over to the boundary fit, legacy boundary fit. So that's really helpful that you have that as well. Of course, we have updated, I mentioned live transfer tools, sending it to SolidWorks. We've updated for SolidWorks 2025, Creo 12, and Inventor 2026 in this version as well. And just general stuff. If you come over and you just draw a sketch here, I think I touched on this a little bit, but if I come over here, when you're in the regular extrude tool, you'll notice that we have the result operators over here. So if I had other solids, it would have solid cut blind through all. If there are other bodies and I wanted to cut through, it would allow me to do selected bodies. So all of this, you'll notice, is a slightly new interface design there to the tools. While I'm talking about interface, another one here is we went ahead, and this is where your scanner plugins are, right? We run ahead and put all the scanners in a drop down now. So it doesn't show the last one you used up top here. It just shows this is the scanner drop down with the scanner plugins, so that way it just doesn't show any other scanners on the screen all the time. It just shows you where the plugins are, and the same thing goes over here. And then the other thing that we did is in the preferences, under hardware. This is important for anybody to know. If you want to turn off any of the plugins, you can turn them off from here. And this brings up another note. We just made it so you can hide and show all the scanners, regardless of the type of plugin it is. You can just turn them all off if you want them to not even show anything. On the interface side too, it's really handy that if you come over to the Home tab and you come over to the toolbar visibility, we added the toolbar. It used to be that if you wanted to show certain toolbars, you're like right-clicking in these different areas around, right? Now you have the ability to have the toolbar visibility as a button up here, and for the most important, reset the layout. So you can still do the resetting of the layout by going to the old method where reset options by navigating to the install location. But this is really helpful that if you ever drag stuff around and you don't know where to go, you can just reset all the panels back to their original location. So the other thing, little teeny thing here, it used to be that you click on an object, you'd have to rename it by doing this. But you actually have now the ability to right click and just rename here. Just little things. Sometimes the little things are helpful, you know. Now we did update some file import and export for E57 and different scanner files, like the Faro Focus scanner, importing the new versions of their formats as well. And just updating the ability to bring in different CAD versions like CATIA, Inventor, NX, Pro-E, SolidWorks, as far as opening those formats as well. Just importing all kinds of new geometry. So in general, there's lots of like meaningful updates in this version. I really like the updates to the being able to fit pipes better. The Decimate tool is screaming, and then now the shrink wrap coming in. Those have got to be like the top 3 things that we added that were just really nice haves in this version. And then of course my 3D mouse integration has gotten a lot smoother as well. I've been using the beta version of this DesignX 2025 for many months just because I love the 3D mouse integration so much. So you may have noticed that I've been using this new version on this webinar for a while.